Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm Hans Engel from the Directors Guild of Canada. Welcome to our second DGC Masterclass of 2021, and it's going to be a great one. This is a For Your Consideration special edition. The online Masterclass series began in April 2020 as a way of keeping us all connected, creative, and inspired. We featured an incredible list of talents from Canada and the international community. And last week, we kicked off the series with the director of Spirit Award nominated film, Sound of Metal, Darius Marder. All our Masterclass recordings can be found on the DGC National YouTube channel. We're thrilled to have brilliant directors Tiffany Hsiung and Mina Shum with us to celebrate the success and Oscar run of Tiffany's short documentary film, Sing Me a Lullaby. Unique tonight is that we will be going on a journey with our two guests and watch the 29-minute film live. Open your chat box for the link, and we'll get to that in a minute. When we're ready to take off, we'll post the link in the chat where it is right now so that we can all watch it simultaneously. Then we'll come back after the film and continue the conversation. Tiffany Hsiung is a Peabody Award-winning filmmaker based in Toronto and is listed as one of Doc New York City's 40 under 40. She recently won the Grand Jury Prize at Doc New York for her short documentary, Sing Me a Lullaby, along with the inaugural Toronto International Film Festival Share Her Journey Shortcuts Award after the world premiere. Following the Directors Guild of Canada Best Short Film Award, Sing Me a Lullaby was selected as TIFF's Top 10 in 2020. And in 2018, Tiffany received the prestigious Peabody Award for her incredible debut feature, The Apology, along with the DuPont Columbia Award and the Alan King Memorial Award. Tiffany's films have premiered around the world, receiving over 24 International Film Festival awards. Her work has been theatrically released in Korea and Canada and broadcast internationally by Al Jazeera and PBS POV. Our moderator tonight is none other than award-winning DGC director Mina Shum, whom we also featured in a masterclass last year. Mina has written and directed 5 feature films that have successfully touched audiences worldwide. Her award-winning films have premiered at Sundance, Toronto, and Berlin. Film titles include incredible films like Double Happiness, Drive, She Said, Long Life, Happiness, Prosperity, Ninth Floor, and Meditation Park. Her films have won Best Feature at Berlin, Audience Awards in Torino, Italy, Special Citations and Top 10 Awards at the Toronto International Film Festival. Her latest feature, Meditation Park, won TIFF's Film Circuit People's Choice Award and San Francisco's Center for Asian American Media's Audience Award. Two incredible filmmakers that we've got for you tonight. Really amazing to have them both with us to talk about this film and to take us on a journey. Welcome, Mina Shum and Tiffany Hsiung. Oh, welcome. We had to have some applause in there for you to bring back that live atmosphere. Welcome, Mina. Welcome, Tiffany. Great to have you here.
Thank you for that intro.
An absolute pleasure. Now, before I turn it over to you guys, I just want to point out the Q&A button to the audience at the bottom of the screen. That's where you can type in questions throughout the conversation. Mina will be watching and looking for your questions throughout. So type them in at any point and she'll try to get to as many as she possibly can. And for those of you, if there are any of you new to Zoom, know that in the top right-hand corner, you can change your view between gallery and speaker view, depending on how you want to watch it. That's it for me. Really looking forward to taking this journey with you with this film. And I'll pass it over to you, Mina and Tiffany. See you at the end.
Thanks, Hans. Thank you. So this is a very special evening for Tiffany and I. We talked about what we feel like this community needs right now. And it's partly the feeling of being together again. And so we're going to try a little experiment. This is a For Your Consideration screening of Sing Me a Lullaby. The film is 28 minutes, 29 minutes long, Tiffany?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what we're going to try to do is hang out on Zoom, but also watch the film at the same time so that we can at least share the space together. The Buddhists call it the Sangha. It's the feeling of being together. And so we're super, super excited about that. And I think we'd like to all get on a plane. Shouldn't we do that?
Absolutely.
Do that?
Safely. We should all safely get on the plane together. And
because this film didn't take place in Canada, because we have to journey there. And something Tiffany and I talked about was the fun of when you're on an airplane, hitting play at the same time so that we're all in sync watching a movie together.
But before we go anywhere, we should always have a snack with us, and you should everyone at home, please grab a snack before we.
Yeah. Oh, hey, Tiffany, I got you some buns.
Oh, amazing. Thanks, Mina. That's so considerate.
Yeah.
Love it. My favorite.
Cool. Awesome.
So we hope you guys all have your snacks ready, and we're gonna get our engines ready, get on our plane, and then give you further directions once we get into our plane here. Okay. Great.
I'm burying my plane. Okay, maybe I'm gonna just hang out. Oh, there we go.
Delta Airlines flight 2998 bound for Atlanta, Georgia, reporting in Dallas Fort Worth International Airport.
We're there. Perfect.
Either in an overhead bin or under the seat in front of you. All aisles, exits, and bulkhead areas should now be clear. All electronic devices should now be turned off and stowed, as they may interfere with the aircraft's navigational and communication systems. Once airborne, we'll let you know when you may use approved electronic devices.
I don't know about you guys, but I missed that sound. I missed the sound.
I missed that sound too. I'm just listening. Okay, so we should do a countdown so that go into your chat, everyone. Have a look. There's a link there for the movie. This is for your consideration. Let's watch this movie together. Let's give Tiffany some love. You want to count it down?
Yes, absolutely. So if you have
on three.
Yep. 3 or 1. 2, 3.
3. Awesome. See you after the movie. Okay, I'm just gonna sit here and just have a moment. I'm sure the audience needs a moment.
We can all have another bun, shall we? I'm on bun number 3 right now. Thanks, Mina.
It's a beautiful film. You must be so pleased that now you're going out on this Oscar campaign, getting it out there. It was, we talked earlier, tell us a little bit about what that means for a short film, because I'm sure a lot of our audience doesn't, I mean, I really don't, it gets reinvented all the time, what an Oscar campaign is. And without Javier Bardem in the film, it's not that easy to kind of get people's attention. So what was that, what's the journey for this movie? And certainly this is part of it, our for your consideration screening.
This is part of the journey. And you know what, I kind of went backwards because I actually never really made officially a short film before I made a feature. So I kind of went backwards in it, in the sense of not really having that opportunity of really understanding just how challenging it is, one, to actually make a short, and to have, you know, the time constraints, and really to the whole format completely. It's completely different. The luxury of having time to really build up characters, to establish scenes, like a lot of the things that we had shot when we went back in 2019, like these beautiful landscapes and these openings, it's just like, they don't fit in a short film.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So a lot of those challenges of like really understanding how to get into the film and the story, and just to be able to structure it, that was all a whole new challenge, which I have to say, I have so much love and respect for short film makers, like specifically when they make a short film, like I have so much respect for them, because it is another type of skill set to really just hone in and master. And so lots of love for them in terms of getting eyeballs on it. I think that that's also new as well. Like, even, I mean, one, it's a short film. Two, you're doing it over during a pandemic and you can't be physical with anybody. So it's the way that we share it and the way that people are watching it, that also becomes this new obstacle. But at the same time, I feel like the benefit of it, it's like it's more approachable. Like it's like 29 minutes. I have 29 minutes. You know what I mean? Like there's this, this other thing where it's like it also, you could kind of win in that space as well, because time, people's time as well. So I found that to be interesting as well, is that you can, it somehow becomes a little bit more accessible. However, in comparison to getting the attention of people to, you know, pay attention to shorts when you're, you know, running an Oscar campaign or, you know, in a festival circuit, I think that programmers do a really good job in trying to give us as much love as possible. I think TIFF in 2020, I mean, you know, TIFF, how it's like in real physical TIFF, it's like shorts don't necessarily get as much presence and love. But I think in this really unique way, because of the lockdown and because everything was virtual, I feel like, and there were no celebrities in Toronto for us to get, I feel like the playing fields were slightly like more even in the sense that you could get your work out there as long as you have a computer and laptop and, you know, can work your fingers really quickly. So that's what I noticed. That's what I noticed about the whole short form, for sure.
And so when is the nomination? When do people decide?
This is basically, we're right now. So I'm learning all of this, like DIY, like, crazy world. It's like a presidential campaign, you know, like you have to really have a huge team and let's just like call it what it is, so much money. And as you know, docs don't have so much money. So it's a lot of stuff to really kind of map out and do yourself with your team, and a lot of really passionate partners that, you know, will go the extra mile and help you tweet and retweet and share and create outfits. And the DGC putting this on as well. So actually the voting begins on Monday, and documentary branch members in the Oscars, there's over 600 of them, they get to vote. So it's not like
we are looking at you.
Yeah. Everybody. You. Not really, but you know what we're saying. So they start February 1st, next Monday, and they have till February 5th. So in that 1 week window, you'll be seeing a lot of push out there on social media to get those voters to basically watch the movie. That's all you can really do is hope that they all watch the films.
Well, what was so great, you know, you're talking about length. I don't think we could have done this if it was for your consideration feature-length movie. You know, to have us all sit together and eat buns for 29 minutes. That's doable and also feels very satisfying. Did you know from the get-go that it was going to be a short?
I starting this process, yes, but before, no. Originally it was going to be, you know, back with 21-year-old Tiffany thought one day feature-length film, sure, right away. I'm so glad 21-year-old Tiffany didn't do that. And 21-year-old Tiffany had a little bit more, you know, growing to do and experience to go through. So when I finally finished the apology and back in 2016, I knew I needed to come back and to finish this film. And it was like this thing on my shoulder. It was also a thing that my mother would be like, so now that you finished the apology and you meet with all those grandmothers, like, when are you going to finish that movie that you keep shooting for? And it took me so long to even have the courage to watch the footage. I don't know, Mina, how you feel about looking at footage of yourself, but it's the worst. It is the absolute worst, especially your 21-year-old version of yourself, because I was so obnoxious. I really gave her a lot of hard time when I was watching the footage. I would make commentaries about her outfit choices, the way that she communicated, her broken ass Chinese. It was just absolutely horrible. I was so angry at her when I was logging the footage that I would have to drink to watch it, to go through with it, because I was so judgmental of her. And I think it was I don't know when it was during that point where I realized that I needed to make peace with her and be thankful for her, for what she did, because without her, none of this could have happened. I needed to be rambunctious, rebellious, and just be that Tiffany to be able to have gotten there. Because I don't think Tiffany today would have done what Tiffany back then, just up and dead, you know. But the short form, the reason why I tackled the short after making the apology was because the apology took 7 years. And I was just like, you know what? I need to make this film. I think the dream for me always was to script a feature of this world of Taiwan in the 1960s. I had always these dreams and memories of like of the stories that my grandmother would tell me and what my mom would tell me, and I would want to see that on the screen. I wanted to see 5-year-old Wendy running around. I wanted to see my grandmother and her search and her seeing my mother, you know, through the playground fence. I guess I just never grew up seeing that part of Taiwan. But here in North America, like it's a strange thing. Yes, you could buy movies from there and watch it here, but there was something, I think, you know, being born and raised here, you're kind of always feeling a little bit in limbo between the two worlds of like cultural upbringing and stuff. So for me, it was kind of like this craving of wanting to see it, wanting to hear it, wanting to know the fashion and all of that. So I think that making the short was really for me to be able to, you know, compartmentalize all the ideas and Ruby, this producer in China, she's like, you know, you're known as a doc filmmaker. You should really focus on making this documentary and make it a short, make it a really good short, and people can see it, and you can also process the story that you want to tell. And so 2 years later, after, you know, after starting it, we completed it. And I just, you know what, I just wanted to make a good film, and I wanted my mom to be proud of it and to be happy. And when we finally locked the film, it was, yeah, it was the greatest day of my life. We had the CBC come on board to finish the movie with us, and it was incredible. You know, Leslie Burchard, you know, she gave me the space and time to explore it, and it's really rare to get time to explore a short film, you know. And I was very, very fortunate to have that, and I had an incredible co-producer, Priscilla Galvez. She like, you really can't make a movie on your own. Anyone out there thinking that they could just go out there, even if it's a personal film, actually personal films are the worst. You cannot make that on your own or explore that on your own, because you often get in your own way. And so you kind of do need this incredible team to be your therapist, to be your advisors. You know, I had incredible editors like Hsiung and Ricardo Acosta, like they were therapists in this whole process, because the things that I was vulnerable to share, you know, the things that, you know what I mean? It's like, you want to hide it, right? Like I would hide things and then hope no one would find them. And then you have people like, I had so many people consult and help me on, they're like, what about this, Tiffany? And then you'd have to bring it up to them, and then they're like, oh, okay, so I can't really hide from myself, basically.
I found it, I've seen it, I saw it with all of you just now, but I've seen it before by myself. And the thing that I mean, you're an incredible filmmaker, and you can see that cinematic desire to just tell it with pictures. Like there's the poster that you have behind you there, that's a lovely moment in the film where we as an audience just get to digest the journey, because 28 minutes is pretty fast. Like, so, you know, it just goes. It's like, I'm looking for my mom, and like within you found I say one of the most admirable things about the film, and it's, I don't know how to say this, you knew when it ended. You knew when it would end, as opposed to, because I know when it's our families, because I've mined a similar territory. When you're dealing with yourself, when you're looking at yourself, it's either way too short because you don't want to reveal anything, or it's way too long because you love all the eating scenes, right?
Yes.
You know, so you found that perfect deliverance of an experience. But you kept us wanting more. How did you know when it was How did you know when it was done?
I think because I always knew deep down inside that there would be a feature, a scripted feature that would allow me to explore further. I think that was the trick, because with the apology, I wanted it to continue going. I wanted all the food scenes, all the jokes, all the dancing, like all of those. I was like, this should be a 3-part mini series, like, 1 hour spot. Like I was obsessed with like putting more in, right? With Sing Me a Lullaby, the short now, I think it's because I knew that I'm gonna make a feature one day. I'm gonna make that happen. So what is the most essential pieces? What are the nuances that are just enough to incite one to get a bit of the complexity of it, but not to deep dive into it where we do like this investigative documentary where you see all of our dirty laundry. Like there was versions of it. I'll tell you, Mina, I locked the film maybe 3 times, maybe.
Okay.
In different ways of like how this film was going to end, and how it was like really, I guess I say it again, like not getting in the way of myself, and to allow that story to be able to just be, and to be able to sit with that vulnerability. I feel like this could easily turn into a TED Talk here when I talk about vulnerability and courage.
But I think, one point that I hope everyone takes home who's attempting to put themselves in front of the camera and tell their personal story is you need a team. You need a team of people to tell you your mom's not that funny, or you're not that funny, or you know what, you need to go and cry and come back and work tomorrow. Like, I think, like you said, a film is never made by itself. And I think a personal film, which it's so much for you expunging and making peace with all your history. And so you need to create a team that helps you present that and express that, and to say to yourself, get out of the way. We have tons of questions coming in. I have a question from Lori Townsend, who says, Tiffany, deep gratitude for this work. Heart. I have 2 questions, if that's okay. When reviewing archival footage, do you ever make explicit rules for yourself in terms of the clips that make the cut?
Good question.
Yeah.
Good question. 100%. I think that, as documentary filmmakers, we have such a responsibility of what this film will mean to the people that are in it. It is so much a living legacy of my family members, right? And I did this with the apology. I did this with this film as well. And I knew that there was a moment of including my grandfather, because I did find him at the very end. He refused to. Yeah, I know, it's crazy. You wouldn't know in this movie, right? But we did find him. He refused to see me until the very last day, and he knew I was leaving, and so he agreed to see me, and he cried, and it was very emotional to see an elderly Chinese man on his knees, really begging for forgiveness. Like, it was absolutely, you would say, as a filmmaker, you're like, whoa, that's really crazy footage. Like, of course this is going to be like that moment. Of course you're going to use this because this is going to get people's attention. But I chose not to use it. I was very like, for me, the story was honoring the women that have come before me, honoring my mom's story, my grandmother's stories, honoring their legacy, their resilience, their hard, complex choices. And I knew if I just were to put even a moment of my grandfather in there, it would have been like, 1, traumatic for my mom to keep watching this movie, which is like, for sure, I don't want to do that to her. And 2, take away, it's like that car crash syndrome. Like, you put a car crash in something, everyone turns their head to look at that, and they don't pay attention to the other details that you've been trying to, create and show and build up. So that was a choice of like not putting that footage in there, not focusing on that, aspect of this story, right? At least not in this film, but to understand that for this was for my mother and my grandmothers, you know, and to really tell it really, it's a daughter's love letter to their mothers. And it's both mine and both my mother and my grandmother's. So I really wanted to honor that. Absolutely. So that's my rule of thumb, 100%.
You're making me think about when I was doing Ninth Floor, my doc, and one of the subjects that we talk about, and that's in the film, Kennedy Fredericks, he had gone mad he ended up in a institution because of really racism and not fitting in Canada. And they found him, right? They were like, we think we found him, you can go speak to him. And I just went, whoa, whoa, whoa. No, we don't, because he's not well. Like, I had to respect part of it and also not hijack the story, because then it would be a mental wellness movie as opposed to a film about 6 students who got the guts to dare to be and speak out, you know? It's funny because it feels like it was like when we first heard, I'm sure when your grandfather first called you, you were like, oh, yay, right? It felt like it was going to be really good for the movie, but it isn't necessarily, it might be good for the heart for you to have done that, but you knew that you're able to make that choice.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what the truth is what the audience doesn't know is that after finding my grandfather and he wanted my mom's phone number, he actually basically threatened my mom for money, saying that he was going to kill himself.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it was very actually traumatic.
Right.
Finding him and giving him access to my mom again, like after what he had put my mom through and as a child, but then kind of redoing the psychological thing later on, now that she's an adult and after her daughter finds her biological parent. It was a complete hot mess. And in fact, that was kind of around the moment where I was like, what did I do?
Right.
Did I do something wrong by finding him or finding the past, like to dig a little bit too far? Like that was where like I had to check and understand why sometimes people bury some things, right? And then really understand what that was.
Right.
Yeah.
We have another question from, and please everyone, in the Q&A, I'm reading them and we'll get to your questions if we have time. Nick Viscio says, the beauty of your film is the authenticity of your ability to wear it on your sleeve. Now that you've finished it, are you more comfortable with this ability, or do you better understand that people love to see it? And do you understand that people love to see it, you wearing it on the sleeve?
Oh my God. Oh, great question. I've always been told that I'm a bit, I wear it a lot. Just like how I wear a glass of red wine on my face a lot. I wear a lot of emotions I carry it with me. I think I've realized over the years now that my ability to, I guess, be this middle child that I always am, which is super emotional and very compassionate to just like wanting to fix things and be there. And to sometimes really at the end of the day, maybe this makes me a horrible filmmaker, but I forget that I'm a filmmaker when I meet people. I forget when I'm invited into their homes, like when with the apology, I just forget that. And I'm like this honorary granddaughter to these women. And I just want to be there because I genuinely just really want to hang out and eat. Really, it's all around eating, spending time, and the emotions that come from that is coming from a very personal place. And I think the filming for me, it like comes afterwards. It's an afterthought of like of what can be done and what can be captured, but relationship is everything to me. And it's not just with the people I film, it's the people I work with. Like we all have to, and I hope all have to be on the same page, this journey together where we all feel like the thing that we're working on, we all are invested in for these personal, passionate, emotional reasons. And then you can really get the best of everybody. You know, a director isn't good at all of those roles. the people you bring on are good at all of those roles, and as a director you sit back and be able to see that and see how can I steer you to be able to be the best that you can be in that role. And I think a lot of that has to do with creating space to allow the emotions to come out. To, if I show you that I'm like this, does it allow you to feel safe enough to also show me your vulnerability and your emotions? Because once we get through that first date, then we're just making magic together. And I say that both with the characters that I film, but also with the people I get to work with. And I have to say, movies, the movies that we make in the end, like that's for the audience. The process is really for us. It's really for the team that you hire, that you get to work with. And that's life. Is the experience and the process. So let's make it as enjoyable as possible, not scream and yell at each other, you know, and feel, you know, stressed out, or at least try not to. I know we're always stressed out, but I try to live by that. I don't know if that makes me naive or a bad filmmaker, but I don't know. I guess hanging out with 80, 90-year-olds for over a decade now it's kind of conditioned me to understand the importance of living in the moment.
Well, I think one of the strange silver linings of this pandemic time is that what I hope, one little aside, I'm also a middle child, so that is crazy.
Whoa!
I know.
Mina, this explains everything. The whole airplane thing.
Yeah. I can see the participants, all the ones who are middle children are probably like going, yes, me too. No, but I feel like during this pandemic time, we in this profession, in this industry, are now talking about feelings and allowing space and holding that space for everything, because we're all going through this tenderness together right now, which is one of the reasons I really appreciate your film too. Like, we need films where we can have catharsis in tears, and then feel hope at the end. That's the wonderful thing about this, is that there's this hopeful between when you and your mom are singing karaoke. I'm just crying the whole time, going, oh my God, it's like the most beautiful ending, beautiful happy ending, and so culturally specific too.
Yes,
I felt like it's, you think in this time with all this talk of diversity, that more stories would speak to me as an audience member. Like, you just think like, oh, there's tons of things for Mina to watch. But I felt when I saw your film that it spoke to me in ways very specifically because you're an immigrant child, because you were going back. I mean, I know that feeling of going back to your original culture and not feeling like you fit in. I love that moment where you go, that's my family back there. Because when I was 12, it was the first time I went back to Hong Kong since I was born there.
Yeah.
And I suddenly realized I had, you know, a room full of people eating, which in Canada, we just had ourselves, right? Because we were new to this country.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anonymous question here, anonymous attendee. It says, Tiffany, I'm seeing the film for the first time, so moved for many reasons. I was wondering whether the making of this or other of your other films, you ever got caught up with the worries of portraying or representing one's own culture? When you're storytelling, for example, are you thinking about accurately? Especially if you are including yourself as the narrator in the documentary. Do you ever catch yourself thinking about some of the nuances not included from a personal and cultural specific point of view?
Oh, good question. Absolutely. I think about that, but at the same time, I think that's why, for me, and this is my, and I don't think there's a right or wrong answer of approach, but for me personally, I've always veered to the side of telling a human story.
Mm-hmm.
And for me that, and of course there's responsibility of how you represent, how you show, but human first. And then with that comes, there is levity, there is tears, there are truths, there are my truths, there are the characters' truths as well. And wrapped in all of that, it's like to judge a person on the screen of saying, you know, I'm not saying that this represents all of Taiwanese people or all of, you know, like
Yeah,
it's
right.
it's not that I don't carry that weight on me because I'm so focused on the human aspect of the story that I feel like anyone can also feel connected to the story, even if you weren't Taiwanese or Chinese or East Asian. That's the beauty of also this you know virtual stuff is I'm reading comments of people from different cultural backgrounds connecting it and finding it very accessible to be able to watch and to connect with. And but I do see that, you know, there are things there. um I don't go there in my films because again, I think we were just talking with Mina and I, it's like if you add that in, then you have the responsibility to fully flush. For me, it's like then you fully flush that out, you know. I don't put that, I don't start that specific things that I know that deserves and should have a little bit more context to it. Like I wouldn't drop a bomb and then walk away and have you guys deal with it. Like I think that that's for me. I'm always very conscious around that of how much depth I'm going to go into it. If I have the space to fully evolve it, if I don't, do I consciously leave that out and then focus on these aspects of the story? I do think about that because like I said, I could also have really delved into martial law, Taiwan, and what my grandma was going through. And that was like, holy, like that is really unpack a lot of stuff there, right? So briefly mentioning it, I think that it's enough to give you the time and space to understand the context of where we are in the film. But really, for me, it's always been the human story that drives us from beginning, middle, end. And same thing with The Apology. It's a very politically charged film. But again, our goal with making The Apology, me and Anita were always saying that we would have made a successful film. People walk out of the theater remembering the voices of the grandmothers, remembering how they sound like and how they move and their personalities. Because and knowing those goals, knowing those takeaways before you finish the film, like it really does allow you to focus on it and not get distracted into these other realms.
Yeah, I think it's almost it's such a hard I don't think filmmakers who are not of dual cultures are expected to represent their entire culture with every film. That so I always think of just like what are you serving when you make a movie? You're serving that story, the human story. I mean, it painted quite a picture when we find out that her dad sold everybody and that women had a tough time in Taiwan at that time. That I got to, you know, I could fill that in with my Chinese family history, right? Or someone else who's Russian could fill that in with their history. I have another question here. When you take on the role as a camera person, does that take you out of the story?
Again, this is why I'm so glad I made this movie after The Apology, because I think when I first started out, like most filmmakers, eager bunnies were just like want everything to be beautiful and cinematic, and then like because we like story is like if we could visually show how beautiful and everything like that becomes this primary focus. Like that's how my brain worked, you know, going into this. So I think when I started out, it felt like that was my focus. Like when I was 21 and I had the camera, I felt like that was the focus. However, it was unique because things were happening right before me that I needed to focus on my family that I was finding. So it actually was a benefit for me to really capture what I need to capture, but I'm actually going through something right now. And I cannot, like, if you remember the footage, you see me, you know, meeting my mom at the airport. It's just me with the camera and then me dragging my mom's luggage. And then, you know, finding, you know, like all of those things. It's like, and then like when to put that on your camera. And then, but you're also taking it in as well, you know, and there are moments like sometimes, you know, when people like go to a concert back when we had concerts, like people are always, they have their phone out there and they're watching the concert from their phone and it's like, but it's right there in front of you. That was the hardest thing. And that has always been the hardest thing for me is to, if I'm filming, how can I still also be present and enjoy this? So I've tried to find that balance, and to still be connected to the things that are in front of me, and not from like I try not to obsess over perfection. I think that that's really important, as a documentary filmmaker, being a one-woman show and filming a reunion. Don't obsess over the perfection, because really the story, that's magic that you can't stage or frame any better than what is right in front of you happening. And again, making peace with that made me be still part of what was happening while still capturing, if that makes any sense. Does that make any sense? I don't know.
Yeah. I find one of the things about documentary that is different than fiction is because in documentary, you're the interviewer.
Yeah.
Like you as the filmmaker are sitting there asking the questions. And so in a way, you're the first audience for whoever you're talking to.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So you have to give the energy of being an equal player in that scene, even though they never, like in night floor, I'm not even seen. You don't know I'm there. But I would go home every day kind of exhausted from splitting the mind of being you're a character, you're a real character in the movie, as well as the filmmaker.
I wish I knew that. I wish I knew that when I made the apology, because that was like, that psychologically really messed me up, because I didn't know. When you say it like that right now, like I'm like, because I never saw myself as a character in the apology. I was like just this really, this enthusiastic filmmaker with the camera, but often I was by myself filming them. And then with Sing Me a Lullaby, it's the same thing. I was just like, I'm capturing this for my mom so she can see it, and I had friends with me. But it was when I realized that I was finding out things before my mother even knew about, like really trips you out a bit. Yeah, it really, it throws you off, because you're like knowing information that she never had, and that you were getting this privilege to know it, and how that transforms you immediately, and a bit of a guilt as well. I felt guilty. I mean, Chinese guilt is like, all like, I soak with Chinese guilt all over the place.
Well, I think we're born with guilt, aren't we? I think like, how like other in different societies, they play Bach for their children while they're in the womb. Chinese families, they're just like, you're gonna have to pay for this. You're gonna spend the rest of your
Oh my God, 100%, exactly, totally. I love it.
Question here from Jay. As a filmmaker and director, how did you plan the flow of the story? What were important factors for you in deciding when and where to insert certain scenes and to provide narration? Now, just to preface this, you knew you were going to work in a short form.
I knew it was going to work in a short film. Yeah.
Right.
Short
so,
form. Yeah.
And you knew where you were going to end. You knew the reunion and probably Popo getting sick. Or not Popo, but your
my other grandmother. Yeah. I mean, sorry. Wait, sorry. Mom, it's actually live right now. I didn't 100% no. Like I said, we had different, there was things that happened that I thought we would be able to include in the film. And like, in fact, my mom still to this day, like, she saw every version that I got to make, which was so lovely. It passed through her, but she was really upset when I took out certain moments that we filmed. She's like, but it was so beautiful and I looked really good there. Why would you take that out? No one's ever seen how Chinese New Year looks like there. And I'm like, but Mom, it takes up the story. We kind of need that space. No one really cares about us praying in a temple, But it was really beautiful and it was really cinematic, but it just like a lot of different elements in terms of like what the focus will be. I didn't know, I didn't know I was going to put narration in the film.
Oh, okay.
You imagine? Yeah. I actually don't like, personally, my preference, I don't like my voice in the film. I don't. I just never did, right? So it's funny, like many conversations with Leslie at CDC, we were talking about, and that was like a suggestion. I was just like, oh, I don't know, I don't really like my voice. And then just like, again, that's why you have incredible people to work with, because, you know, it takes a bit of like slow massaging of like, okay, this, you know, when finally the story had shaped in its way where I allowed myself to be a character, because there was once upon a time I was trying to avoid it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm serious. It had 3 different types of locks where I had to get out of my own way. I was standing in front of myself, blocking myself from making this film. And I had, again, lots of incredible people to support me and share like what they think that was going on inside of me, because there's like, it was quite obvious, like, you're really trying to avoid something here.
And you're like, yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Yeah, I am trying to avoid it. Once that kind of made its way, you know, parted a bit, it was easier. You know, I still didn't like it. I still have a hard time hearing my voice in this. I still have a hard time seeing a lot of my face in there. But I've come to peace with it, because I realize that it tells a full story, a whole story. And for that, I can get over my own, you know, vulnerabilities of myself being this, and that, you know. So that came very late. That came very, very late in the process, but literally like 2 months before we locked the film.
Right. So I find so much of documentaries, you are writing in the edit suite too.
Oh, yeah.
As opposed to, you know, you've shot this grand scheme of a feature film and you're just cutting and putting it together. You're looking for the story, you're trying, like, one little piece that's too much and it's a different movie.
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just saying that for Jay's sake, because Jay's like, how do you plan? And it's like, sometimes with doc, you just know the story you're after and you can't plan until you're in the edit suite, and then you start pulling it all together.
Yes. Yes. I mean, I do. Yes, absolutely. It's, some people love the editing process and some people have a really hard time. I'm like one of like I'm in between. Like, I really I love a sound mix. God, that's the most fun. But right. But I have, yeah, I also, because I guess a lot of things that I filmed, I've experienced physically, and sometimes you think the story isn't completed at times because you're trying to recreate the moments that you experienced when you were physically there. And I think that's like wearing like the 2 hats, you know, like the things that you get to experience, keep for yourself, and then the things that you need to tell the story, you put in the film. So don't put every dumpling eating session, don't put the night market in there, you know, like, because there was a lot of eating, Mina. And
I love the night market
food. Like, top notch. Like, we could have done a whole like travel eating show for sure.
Oh yeah. I think we have a special guest.
We do have a special guest
to introduce at this point to our Zoom audience.
So for those that still stayed with us, I present to you the Queen of the Night, my dear. Okay.
Queen.
Okay. I'm being a little bit. Mina, I love to introduce you to my mother, Wendy. Everybody out there who's still with us, this is my mother, Wendy.
Hello, hello. How's
woman.
everyone tonight?
Well, Wendy, there's a question here from Lena Lee that I saved because it's kind of for both of you. She says, I'm curious, how has the relationship between you and your mother changed after this film?
You could be honest, of course. But remember, this is recorded and people are watching.
Well, it's more for you.
No, Mom, it's
well, I don't know how much it really changed because I still love her unconditionally. Even also maybe more because I realized how much hard work she put into, completing this film, especially when I didn't think that she was
Ever
about
gonna finish
ever
it.
gonna finish it.
Ever gonna finish. The guilt was there. The
Um,
guilt was there.
No, I never put pressure. I was just curious
Right.
because you see, when she first came back from Taiwan, she had these mini, was it cassette
Mini DV tape.
the DVD tapes, and like there were like how many of them? There's so many. Anyway, all I knew was that she only showed me a very small fraction of what she had shot when she was in Taiwan. So obviously, I was very curious, and I've never really put any pressure on her because I know she's got other priorities. Doing the apology wasn't an easy one. So I'm just sitting there quietly, waiting and thinking, and
I think, yeah, the relationship, because it's been such a long period of time, Mom, I did, share that I was not the greatest kid. Like I was.
oh no, you know what she did? Oh my God.
Tell me.
She
This
had
is-
me stay up at night all the time. She used to steal my car in the middle of the night.
Well, I'm glad that everybody knows that now. Mom, thank you
She
very
was
much
a
for sharing that.
juvenile delinquent, as
Here we go.
some of my friends who knew her, because she's done it all crazy stuff. But I'm actually very happy for her that she's
turned out.
she's turned around. The lost sheep had found her way
Oh my
back.
God. So as middle children, Mina's also a middle child as well.
Really? Oh.
And yes, I think a large part of the curiosity of my mom's past.
I
And,
would have been, but but I didn't grow up in a family with children. So,
Oh, you were an only child.
well, when my adopted mother had me,
She
girl,
only adopted you.
yeah, so I was by myself, and it was very lonely, So I've always tell her how lucky she was to have all the siblings. Some of us who wanted one or two never had the chance. So
that's usually what happens when we're
well,
fighting.
the relationship, it's kind of changed. It's also because I'm getting older too. So now she's becoming the mother. I'm the child. Like I get the advice, I get reprimanded from Tiffany. I get all the, do this, do that, Mom. Like I felt like I was all of a sudden I'm the kid here. Giving me curfew or telling me, oh, not to drink and drive and stuff like that.
Just like, normal basic things that you shouldn't do.
Yeah.
I think that our relationship has over 15 years, since I first went on that trip. I was 21. I was, at least not, at that time, I had, been not the most rebellious child then, but still had like a chip on my shoulder. And then I think over the years, I guess really the truth is that for me as a daughter, I think the greatest privilege and opportunity is to be able to see your parent more than just a parent, but as a whole full human, to fully
Right.
see mother. And if we can do that, if we have this opportunity to see our parents in its full entirety, to see a glimpse of their 5-year-old self, you understand immediately how much closer and how much more understanding you have for them. And so, yes, of course, we get on each other's nerves. Of course, we still bicker, but the bicker comes with understanding and meaning now. I still bicker, but I know I know why she's so stubborn. I know where those.
But behind the bickerness, it's love. It's always, I think, in fact, the more or the louder you bicker, the more you love someone. It's kind of that crazy.
Oh yeah. I have
Right?
I have a child now, and one of the funniest things is that when I'm really mad at him, it's all in Cantonese. It's all, he doesn't even speak Cantonese, but he knows I'm mad, right? And it's a protective, I guess like if I was going to analyze it, it's like as a parent, I'm afraid. So that's coming out of my voice, right? So it just automatically speaks. I just do it all in Chinese. It's like this split personality I have.
I love it. I love it.
Also tortured my mom, disappearing in the middle of the night, not coming home. So is that a middle child thing? I don't know. Maybe it's how Asian women filmmakers are bred.
I think so. We should do a survey. We should do a survey and see how Asian women filmmakers are bred. You know, we have to be cut from this cloth of middle children.
So I have one last question because we talked about it quite a bit off camera. You have plans to write a script about this film that is a fiction work, correct?
I do.
Can you share a little bit about that with us?
Absolutely. Well, it's going to be a labor of love again, and I think that right now developing it, and the fun thing about releasing this short is people want to see what happens next, right? And they want to know more, and to be able to share that there will one day be a feature length that will explore all the kind of I would say the moments in which I think naturally crave to wish to see or wish to get more information of, or the curiosity, because those are my curiosities as well.
Mm-hmm.
And the truth of the matter is, I think making this fiction or like scripting it will also be part of this process, because unfortunately there's no one in my grandmother's like bloodline there would be able to fill in all that information. So a lot of it will be guessing the pieces and what she's left behind with other people to really understand all the details to it. But I think that allows me to still in many ways play another character in this film to again imagine that world and imagine that space. And wouldn't it be cute to see 5-year-old you?
Oh my gosh. I mean, but you could use some footage that got cut and was never used.
That's true, Mom. See how she's still obsessed with the footage that never got made into.
Think about it. It's only 30. Like this film is only 29 minutes. How many hours?
Oh, I know, it's crazy. If it's any consolation, Tiffany, my parents give me script sides when I'm shooting on set. So they actually give me new script pages they would like me to film. And I'm like, what makes you think I can just film that? My mom's still giving me heck for not shooting something for Double Happiness that she wished I put in. So it just is the way.
My mom's trying to sneak away. If you could see how half of her head is flying. Well, why don't you wave goodbye to everybody, and then we'll probably.
Thank you, Wendy, for joining us.
Nice meeting you, Mina.
Yeah, nice meeting you. Thank you for being part of such a lovely film and sharing your story.
Thank you. It was a kind of embarrassing.
I really. It's so good.
Night.
It's so good. Thank you.
Thank you.
So any more questions from the audience here? I think I've covered most of them. I mean,
can we do a full hour of Mom spilling the beans?
Yeah.
No, I would never, no one would ever work with me ever again if that were to happen.
Oh, here's a good question from Lori Townsend. At the outset, did you have any idea of what was at stake? What was at stake was actually the healing of 3, not just 2 generations.
Oh.
Did you know that it was going to affect you in that way?
No way.
Yeah.
No way. Not then, not even in the middle of it. And certainly, I mean, it was, yeah, I had to go through a lot of things in my own personal life to be able to see. I think we all have the ability to open those, like, not all of us. I think I had the opportunity because I was able to witness from the grandmothers and the apology what the impacts were for secrets and shame and the trauma and the impacts. Because I was sitting back and I was watching like this life unfold before me, an 80-year-old woman coming out to her, you know, her son for the first time, and then seeing how that impacted the different generations. So when you witness that as an observer, it was very clear for me at that time to see in my own life, my own story, how certain things that I've even personally been reserved to share will impact and will be something that continues to be passed down. So yeah, that's kind of how I've experienced it, and how, yeah, making this film too.
Well, I want to thank you for making this movie, because you put yourself out there. You wore it on your sleeve. It really spoke to me and to many of our audience members here today. We come from a culture that protects feelings. So it's the storytellers that need to hold that torch and show us that light. And I really applaud you, and I wish you for this film.
Mina, thank you. This, like, seriously, your films were the first films that I've seen growing up, like right when I was 11 to onwards in high school to in university. And without that, there would be no examples or possibilities, or even convincing your family members that you see there could be a career in this, right? Like, how important it is to have people like yourself to like actually be able to know that it's possible. And I know I'm not just speaking for myself, I'm speaking for like many other thousands, you know, that needed that. And I really hope that, you know, Sing Me a Lullaby becomes this piece now that can also encourage others to go seek out if possible, or to ask the questions, or to ask themselves. And because, you know, time is everything, right? And it is never too late. And I think the best thing about this film for me is to be able to see the reactions and the impacts it's had on other people watching it, and the curiosity that has started within them. And no lie, I got 3 different offers of going to go and find people's parents, like 3 different offers of like, can you come and go seek out my family? So it's been pretty cool. It's been really quite amazing. Hi, Hans.
I'm back. Thank you so much to both of you. I mean, that was and what a journey. I mean, we planned this out to be the theme is to take a journey, and I think you guys are filmmakers, you guys are storytellers, and you told a whole story tonight with the full audience, like I think we've never done before, and very, very successfully. This was lovely, definitely one of my favorites, and an amazing conversation. Beautiful to bring the two of you together. Obviously, a lot of symbiosis there, and a lot going on. Really wonderful. And Tiffany, I think, you know, I speak for the entire audience, and a lot have posted this in the Q&A and in the chat. They're rooting for you. They're wondering, in fact, what you're going to be wearing to the Oscars.
Oh my God. So, guys, knock on wood. Knock on wood. Knock on things.
Congratulations. Really.
I honestly, not to sound cheesy, I do feel like I've already won in so many ways just by having the film out there, and that the fact that my mother loves the movie. Like, that's, we've already won in so many ways. But thank you, everyone. Hans, the DGC, Mina, your time, Ryan out there, thank you for all the tech support. So much love to all of you, and thank you for your support. The film is still available out there. You could stream it if you're in the US, PBS, and around the world on the New Yorker and CBC. It's streaming here in Canada. So for those who want to share it wide and far, please do share it from any of our partners out there that are streaming it on their site. And yeah, thank you.
Thanks to both of you for spending this time with us, and Tiffany, thanks for the film. You send love out to us, we send it right back to you. Be well, everybody.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for sharing your time, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Hope you got some snacks in.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.